Hey everybody, welcome to the Ronline Report. Today's guest I have not spoken to for right about 1 year even, and a lot has happened in that 1 year. Please welcome, from Canada, Iain Valliere. How are you, sir?
Good. Thanks for having me on, Ron. It's always a pleasure to be here. So.
You do pronounce your first name Iain, right?
Yeah, it's Ian. There's just an extra I thrown in there just to confuse people.
It's taken me 2 years to figure out like a little trick in my mind to spell your name right, but I'm going to give this to everyone else in case they're going to search you on social media. Because if you put IAN, you're never going to find this guy. So I think of your name as Iain, I-A-I-N, and that's it. You got it.
Or I get Lane a lot because people think the first I is an L, right? Like a lowercase L, so they think I'm Lane. I get that quite a bit. I think it's a Gaelic, like a Scottish spelling of the name.
I figured you were going old school with that, or your parents did in any case. So, so let's recap. The last time I talked to you, I think you had maybe done the Indy Pro. Maybe you hadn't even done your first show of the 2018 season. I'm trying to remember, but it's been a while. So last year in the springtime, you did the Indy Pro, took fourth. Vancouver Pro took fourth. You know, a lot of people had you a couple spots higher at each show, as you know, is often the case when there's a certain look that people appreciate, and we'll get to that. And then you went to the Olympia for the first time.
I did Spain after Vancouver.
Big Man Weekend show, or what was it called?
Yeah, that's the one I won, and then that qualified.
That's right. You won the Big Man Week. See, this is how far behind I am.
Yeah.
Was it called? It was called the Big Man Weekend show last year too.
Same show that Josh won this year. Yeah, it's
right.
just it was
so
a little late.
That qualified you for the Olympia.
Yeah.
And you know, you didn't do too badly at the Olympia. 14th place, because not to put anybody on the spot, but you beat Juan Morel, Michael Lockett. So Juan Morel that season won. He won Toronto Pro last year. He just won New York Pro in the Brazil. Mike Lockett won Chicago Pro. Sergio Oliva Jr., no slouch. Justin Rodriguez, Josh Wade. So I mean, you've got ahead of some pretty big names, some pretty accomplished guys, and a lot of people at the Olympia, myself included, certainly had you higher than 14th. The comparisons, I'm sure you've heard, and you know, I'm sure Dorian's sick of people being compared to him, but I kept looking at all that dense, thick muscle with the grainy condition, thinking this really does remind me of Dorian back in the day. And I don't see much of that look very often at all anymore. So props to you.
It's always an honor to be compared to Dorian. But no, I mean, I was happy with my Olympia placing for sure. I mean, I went in there, you know, obviously wanting to do my best, but not with that mindset of like, oh, I'll just do my best and whatever happens. Like, I wanted to be as competitive as possible. And the goal was really to get top 15, to get a placing, which we accomplished. Yeah. And then, you know, we'll hopefully get back there and move up from there. So
now you're coached by Matt Jansen. When did you start working with Matt?
Winter between 2015 and 2016.
Oh, so it's pretty much been almost your entire pro career.
I did two pro, my pro rookie season. I actually worked with Dennis James.
Okay.
I did Orlando and Toronto. Yeah. And I started working with Matt in 2016.
Wow.
And did two shows with him. I took all of 2017 off, and then we had our obviously more breakout season last year, right?
Okay, so you were probably one of the only, at that time you were, I think it maybe just you in Dallas, and I'm not sure there was any other pros working with Matt, anybody of name that I can recall back then.
No, back then, well, Michaela would just have turned pro, but not as a bodybuilder, obviously, just as women's physique.
Yeah.
You know, and he's worked with like Jamie Pinder and those kind of, you know, some others. But yeah, those might have been a little later, like 16, 17. But yeah, I mean, that was initially, yes, yeah.
Well, I could get into it later, but might as well now. You know, anytime a bodybuilder's had any kind of success or failure, they always try to suggest coaching changes to you. Yeah. Someone's always saying, you know, you should get with this guy or that guy. So you've been pretty loyal to Matt. What is it about his coaching style that you guys work so well together?
I think the biggest thing with Matt is, Matt is hungry and eager to prove himself and to learn, right? So, I mean, he's always, you know, learning, and we're improving every show. And I think the thing is, which I think a lot of people make the mistake of, is the first time something goes awry with a coach, they cut and run. Yes. But then you're starting from scratch with a new coach that has to gather all that intel and whatever you just had learned from whatever you did just fuck up with the last coach.
Right.
So, you know, that was it with Matt. I mean, and it's the first two shows we did together actually in 2016 were the two worst placings I'd ever had. I mean, as amateur, pro, anything. So, I mean, obviously, it would have been really easy to just been like, see ya,
This guy sucks.
This guy sucks, on to the next one. But I mean, those two showings, we really learned a whole lot about me. And then I took the 2017 season off. And obviously, it paid dividends in 2018, and we continued to get better every single show we did in 2018. So, I mean, Matt's just, we have he's very good at learning people from a personal perspective, I think, and not just like, as clients, it's like knows them as people and what makes them tick, and really knows how to coach each person individually to make them thrive and succeed, to the best of their abilities, right?
Because I know Nathan has spent a lot of time down there with him in Tennessee training and living there. Have you done that, or you stay right there?
Like not during this prep, but I have in the past. I mean, I've spent 1 week actually in 2016. I spent a week there with Dallas and Matt, and then I spent a week there last year before Indy. So I've done about two full weeks there. So I actually went down with Chris Bumstead last year, and we together went down and trained for a week with Matt. So that was fun.
How many times did you eat at Chick-fil-A while you were there?
0.
What?
Okay, I'll say I've honestly never eaten Chick-fil-A in my entire life.
Me neither, but
once.
People rave about it.
I was in prep both times I went there, and I'm not like a cheat meal kind of guy. I'll do like clean refeeds and stuff, like, using the sources we're already using, but I don't like eat cheat meals like you might see Nathan eating or the other guys. So I don't really do that per se. So I've never had the pleasure of having the Chick-fil-A. Maybe sometime soon, but.
Now, another big thing, so obviously last fall was very significant in many ways. First of all, you went to the Olympia with your fiance at the time, now your wife, Melissa, and your, I don't know, I guess he was nothing technically, but now he's your brother-in-law, Chris.
Yeah.
So what was it like prepping? And that must be the coolest thing. I can't imagine being like a family unit and all competing in the biggest physique competition in the world together.
I mean, it's really hard to describe because, I mean, I don't know if that's ever happened before,
No, it hasn't. Not
it
like
was,
that.
It was really cool being able to be at the pinnacle of the sport like that and kind of share that all together, and have those moments together. And we'd be backstage together. It was kind of like, something we could share together, right? I mean, the year previous, like Chris and Melissa had done it and I hadn't, in 2017. And it's different. We're all there together and you're sharing the experience, but like I'm sitting watching from the stands and, I can help them as much as I can, but once they go backstage, I can't go backstage at the Olympia. I'm nobody, you know what I mean? So, but being able to be there for each other and kind of, help each other through it as well as being there to, support each other. It was really a, kind of a one of a kind experience. That's for sure. Yeah.
Now, support came at a little higher level this time because Chris had that whole situation with the Berger's disease where he was holding all the water and he was hospitalized and everything. And, he gave you a lot of credit in many interviews and videos for basically being one of the people that was able to get him to the contest mentally and physically. What was it like for you as, he must be like a kid brother to you to see him go through that and
it was really tough to watch him go through that, especially because I knew how much he wanted it after the 2017 season, right? Like I'd seen him come so close to Brayon, in that first year, and I knew how much he wanted to kind of have this setback so close to show. I knew really, it was tough mentally on him. So I mean, the biggest thing for me was just trying to like not almost diminish it, but just be like, dude, it's gonna be good. Like we're good. Don't worry about it. Everything's fine. We've seen the doctors, what's in the realm of safety and what's not. I mean, let's just press through and we're just hope for the best. And, I tried to just play it off like it was, everything was going to be fine. And I mean, it kind of did turn out pretty good considering the circumstances.
Second place in the world again.
Honestly, it was really like a huge shot in the dark because the amount of water he was holding, I mean, until 2-3 days out, you were really just guessing based off his weight how much body fat was under all that water. You're like, okay, so, you're about here. Let's say you're holding about this much water. Once we pull that water, what are you going to look like under there? We really had no idea. So, we were really pushing him hard to make sure that, when we did try and get all that water off, that there wasn't a ton of body fat there because we couldn't see, right? You could shove your finger up to your second knuckle into his ankle, This is at a week out. I mean, so no matter how lean he was, it showed, none of it showed because there's an inch of water on top of it, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we really had to push him hard to make sure that when we did strip it, the conditioning was okay. I mean, I think we did all right. And
I mean, meanwhile, you have to worry about your own prep. You're getting on the Olympia stage for the first time.
Yeah.
You know, most guys would be like, you know what, I can't deal with anybody else or anything. I gotta focus on me right now.
Credit where credit is due as well here, because obviously I work with Matt and I trust Matt's opinion more than almost anyone's, and him being there for me. And obviously I reached out and asked him for his input for a lot of situations with Chris as well. Just to get a second set of eyes and get what his opinion on certain things might be. Sometimes we agreed on most things. Sometimes he'd be like, hey, maybe let's try this. And I'd be like, you know what, you're right. So, it was kind of like cumulative at the end there, which, obviously I appreciate his help a lot. It all turned out pretty good though, yeah.
I want to talk about the improvements that you've made over your career so far, because I said that in our last interview, but I say it again because I like to admit when I'm wrong, because I'm wrong so many times. But when you won the 2014 Amateur Olympia in what country? It was in South America somewhere. Where was it?
It was in Mexico.
It was in Mexico. Oh, so that's North America technically. But I think the only coverage of it that I recall was like a one-page photo report in Flex magazine, maybe?
Yeah, Flex did it, yeah.
And I'm looking at it like, this is your overall champion? Like, no, I was not impressed. I said, he's not big enough to be a good pro. So what did you weigh back then? You were heavyweight, but what did you weigh?
Yeah, well, I had competed as a super at the show that qualified me for that, at the Canadian Provincial Championship. It's like a state championship for us, which I won the overall at 2 weeks prior. And I think I was about 224, 225 there, the 220 cutoff for supers, or for heavies, sorry. So I was just over. I was basically a heavyweight, just over the cap. And then I was a little more competitive in the Amateur Olympia show if I dropped that couple pounds and went to be just at the top of the heavies. So I think I was like, 218, 217, something like that. Yeah.
Because, I mean, at the time, that's when it was all starting with all these Amateur Olympias, and we already had Arnold amateurs. And I was thinking, this guy took went and beat a bunch of guys from like Mexico and Peru and, the backdoor way to turn pro. But, you proved me and a lot of people who had, if anybody thought that about you, boy, you proved us all wrong. Because what did you weigh at the Olympia last year, for example?
248.
248. I mean, wow. You look like twice the size of when you turned pro. So much thicker and denser. And you kept the waist small, which is, not everybody does that either. But let's talk about why you're doing Toronto Pro, because you could have there were 2 weekends leading up to this where you had your pick. New York Pro would have been were you in Toronto area?
I live in Ottawa, which is, just a couple hours north of Toronto.
2-hour flight at best. You could have done that. You could have done this past weekend. We had a show in Puerto Rico. Only 4 guys showed up in the open. California Pro, you could have done that. But this is your third time in Toronto Pro. It was your pro debut back in 2015.
I did Orlando as my pro debut, but I did.
That took place earlier in the season? Okay.
Yeah, it was like May and then 2 weeks later and first weekend in June, yeah.
Okay. So you've done it twice, though. You took 5th in 2015, 7th in 2016, the year Nathan won it.
Yeah.
Does this contest have a very, very special meaning for you with significance?
I mean, yes. It was really the first major bodybuilding show I ever attended. I mean, when I was an amateur competing, and it used to be the provincial championships, and the Toronto Pro was there. This was the first real thing of pro bodybuilding I ever saw. Also aside from that, how New York guys are with the New York Pro. It's a thing of pride, right? And I mean, there's Vancouver Pro, but not to shit on the promoters for that, but Toronto Pro is the one you want to win. You know what I mean? Vancouver's whatever. But Toronto.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't 90% of the population of Canada on the eastern part of the country?
Yeah, but I mean, we can all travel. But I mean, it's just Toronto is just a show that holds a lot in my heart. I mean, in terms of pride, and I think this one, it's kind of obviously the dynamic has changed because a lot of guys aren't doing Antoine and these kind of guys that I think was a good spot for me to really establish myself as the premier Canadian open bodybuilder, which in my mind I already am. There's guys that in their time I haven't beat in terms of their accomplishments yet, like Fouad or Ben. I think they both won 2 pro shows. I've only won 1. But I mean, in current times, I wanted all the best Canadian guys to be there, and I want to beat all of them, and I wanted to lay that to rest in a show in Canada, and I just wanted that to be done, the conversation to be done with, and it was just, Yeah, it's just something that means a lot to me, really. I mean, it's really hard to describe. I mean, it's just like I said, like the New York Pro for those, any of those East Coast guys, right?
So Antoine was looking really good until he tore his damn bicep.
Yeah.
Some people would probably assume you'd be like, oh, good, now I don't have to. And there's one less guy I have to beat. But I bet you were actually pretty disappointed to see that happen.
No, I was really bummed out, honestly. I mean, obviously from a personal, an empathetic level of, how hard I know he must have worked, and he put a lot of work in. Since he did the show last year, he's improved a lot, and I know it is behind that, right?
Yeah.
And obviously my heart hurt seeing that for him, and how devastating that must have been. If that happened to me now, I mean, I'd be shattered, So I mean, I really empathize with him in that aspect. But yeah, I mean, like from a more selfish perspective, I mean, it was like almost like that's taken away from me now, Like, does that take away what Toronto means to me and winning the show could mean to me? No. But, did I want everyone to be there and everyone to be at their best? Absolutely. Yeah. I didn't want, I mean, like, I did the show in Spain last year, which qualified me for the Olympia. And I didn't really, nobody really there. So I kind of got like a Puerto Rico, I kind of got like a free show, there was a couple of good guys. It was 15, 20 guys, but nobody like A tier that's going to go to the Olympia in the immediate future,
Right.
But then I got to prove myself at the Olympia, like you said earlier, by beating guys like Juan and Lockett and these kind of guys who are, perennial show winners, right?
Right.
So this year was kind of my, especially in Toronto, was one that I really want to win and kind of just like get that doubt out of my mind, get back to the Olympia in a show, in a high tier show, and kind of prove to myself that I deserve to beat like I said, all the top Canadian guys, especially, right?
Yeah. So, at the Olympia, I couldn't really see any weak points. I mean, did you seek out feedback from judges? Like, what would you like to see next time?
I don't, I'm not yet where I don't have things to improve that I need to ask for feedback. I think it all needs to improve. Mm-hmm. I can look at myself, and me and Matt can talk, and I know it needs to improve. I mean, the biggest things for me and that I focused on this year were, if you look at my back shots, back lat is great. There's good width. But my back, there's not a lot of good width. I don't know if it's opposing, but that was the biggest thing to focus on, is just getting more width and more depth to my back double, especially. So that I definitely feel like I've accomplished. And then the second thing was just getting more into the legs. And I thought it was more just working with the sweep, but it's, more building the adductors and, getting some more width side to side, laterally in the quads has made a big difference, I think, on my front shots. So
does Mark with you very closely on your training and try to gear certain exercises and techniques toward what you need?
Matt, I think, trusts my knowledge when it comes to training, and obviously I get his input as much as I can. If I say, hey man, like, do you think I should be doing this? I'm doing this. What do you think about this? And obviously I bounce those ideas off him, and I always appreciate his input. But no, most of my training is, especially in the off season stuff, I kind of take care of myself. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm curious, if someone's trying to build back width, your back looks pretty damn wide to me. What did you do differently in the last few months to try to emphasize that more?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing for me was really focusing on actually like contracting the muscles as efficiently as possible, and just exercise execution, I guess, would be, the term to really use, right? I mean, making sure that my elbow drive on all my exercises was as deep as I could get it, and really contracting through my lats, and not just like slugging weight around, hoping to, which, I mean, the slugging weight around is great, and it's built a lot of, like you said, in my physique, a lot of thickness and a lot of density, but when it comes to things like, getting those like Brandon Curry round crazy lats, sometimes you need to slow things down, really feel things, and make sure you're actually isolating the muscles. So I think that was the first step. And then after that, it was just, getting better and progressing within those set of exercises. It's no new fancy crazy techniques or exercises. It's just perfecting the ones I was already utilizing and using them as effectively as possible, right?
Okay. I know you used to train with Chris Bumstead. Do you still train with him?
Yeah, I mean, not as much as I'd like to. I mean, we do live in the same city. He just recently moved across town, and I actually moved the other way. So Melissa and I just bought a new home.
Oh, congratulations.
About 2 months ago. So we moved more west, and he moved more east. So he's like in the downtown, and we're kind of like in like a rural suburb. Yeah. So we're a little farther now, but no, he comes out here and trains once in a while. So, I mean, when we train, we can. I mean, I would like to more though, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. So you got married last November to Melissa.
Yes.
You guys have been together for how long before that?
It'll be 7 years. Oh, it was 6 years. Now we're like 7. Yeah.
Wow, geez. So what were you, like 12 years old when you guys started dating? Or?
Yeah. So I would have been like, yeah, 21, 22.
Wow, because there's pictures of all three, you, Chris, and her, and Chris looks like, I don't know, like he's in middle school or something.
I mean,
Yeah.
he was probably pretty close.
He certainly doesn't, you wouldn't recognize him, except the face kind of looks the same.
Yeah, he would have been in like grade 10 or 11. So what's that, like a sophomore, junior, So yeah.
Do you have 12, do you have grade 12, or do you guys
Yeah,
go to like 13?
grade 12, yeah. So he would have been grade 11, I think, when I started
Okay.
hang out with Melissa. So,
Yeah,
he was.
you were
He was
the
still,
one that really got him into all this to the level that he's at now.
yeah, I mean, the thing, Kay, I think with Chris and Melissa, I can say with absolute confidence, Chris still would have ended up where he is today without me.
Huh.
Do I think that I've obviously played a fundamental role in certain aspects of it? Absolutely. But I think that Chris's path was always leading to this world, whether I came into Melissa's life or not? I think so. I think he already had kind of had the bug, and he was following bodybuilders. I mean, Instagram didn't exist when I started dating Melissa, if you think. But I mean, he was following them on, he had on Facebook, he followed us, and on that kind of stuff. And he had magazines around the house when I went over there, and I would see him at the gym, and he kind of knew, what he was doing in terms of training. And you saw this guy in high school. I mean, he looked like a man among children in school. It looked odd,
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he kind of would have ended up in this world no matter what. So, I don't like to take too much credit saying that I got him to where he is. I think I played a fundamental role, but I think this was Chris's destiny no matter what,
Okay. Now, just talking about marriage in general now, because, times are changing. Not as many people get married these days. Some people say it's just a piece of paper. We don't need it. I'm getting away from talking about biceps and chicken breasts here, if you can forgive me for a minute. But, why did you guys decide, because it's 2019 and a lot of people they're not choosing marriage anymore. Why did you guys really want to do that and make it legal, make it, the eyes of God and man and all that?
That's a good question. I mean, I think the thing with us is just, I don't really know how to answer that, to be honest. I mean, in terms of changing the dynamic of the relationship, I don't think it really means anything from that. I think I was committed to Melissa to the same extent, and I want to spend the rest of my life with her no matter what. I had a piece of paper or legality or anything behind it. So from that perspective, it doesn't really mean a whole lot. And if you need to get married to be faithful to your partner or to, anything like that, I think you're in for a shitty life, But I mean, yeah, it's just to, have that, not like that bond, of knowing that, we have that together, and, it's just something that, mentally, I mean, spiritually, I guess, I hate to use that word, kind of brought us a little closer together. So it's really hard to describe, but I mean,
No,
that's the.
I asked because, I got married in 1991, still married, and it was a different time and era back then. It was just, even though I was very young, 21, everybody, that's the thing, you get married. That's
Yeah.
So I'm just curious as to how it is for young people these days, and thank you for letting me know it's really not as different as I thought it was. Okay.
No, I mean, I mean, you know exactly how it is. I mean, if you've been together, we were together for 5 years before, like the dynamic of the relationship didn't just change. It wasn't like, we didn't live together and then we got married and we got our first house together. Like, we've been living together for 4 years before we even got married,
Okay. Yeah.
So, I mean, the dynamic of the relationship didn't change much, but, and I think we also both take pride in saying that this is my husband or this is my wife. And I think having that, that title, I hate to use the word title, but I guess it is.
It is.
Yeah. It brings, pride and joy to us to kind of have that together, right?
Yeah. Well, you're a good sport for answering that question, Iain. I got some questions from the forum because I said, if you guys have any questions, I'm interviewing Iain Monday. So here's what some guys came up with. One, a guy named Ahmad73 who gives me inside intel from Oxygen Gym sometimes. But he said, is he aiming for Arnold 2020 win? Wow, we're getting ahead of ourselves here, but you've never done the Arnold. What about it?
Never done the Arnold. I just find the time. I mean, okay, last year was the only. This past one, 2019, would have been the only year I would have considered doing the Arnold. I think at 2018, when I did Indy first, I don't think I was at the point yet where I would have felt as competitive as I wanted to be in a show like the Arnold. And it was my first time back after 2 years, and I want to kind of get my feet wet with a smaller show like Indy. and then kind of progress from there. For 2020, I mean, it's absolutely a possibility. The only reason I haven't is just if the goal is always the Olympia, the timing after the Olympia sucks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially if you had, like I did 3 shows to qualify for the Olympia, then the Olympia, that's 4 shows. And then after the Olympia, and then I got married in November.
Yeah.
So, I mean, basically stretching that, there's no time off there. And I think, both mentally and physically, I mean, I needed that break, especially if I want to, I really, right after the Olympia from last year, had my eyes set on Toronto for this year. So, I mean, not to diminish the Arnold at all, but the Toronto means more to me than an Arnold does at this point in my career. I think my odds of winning Toronto are very high. I think my odds of winning the Arnold are very low. Right. So I think to put my ducks, all in one basket for Toronto was a better bet at this point in my career than the Arnold. I think if I go in, I wipe Toronto, I come do top 10 at the Olympia, then hey, sure, maybe we'll talk about the Arnold 2020. But until then, I'll keep my focuses on just getting to the Olympia every year and progressing as much as I can within there.
But you also make a good point. Anybody that does the Olympia and then they're going to do the Arnold again.
That's tough, man.
So Olympia's mid-September. You got, you need a few weeks to try to recover from that diet and prep. And then realistically, you have 6 weeks before you get to start prep again for another show.
Yeah.
That's brutal. I mean,
well, and then you got to think too. And then if you want to do the regular season after the Arnold, because I don't think many people bank on winning the Arnold given the lineups. Unless you're a guy like William Bonac or Brandon, you're not thinking, hey, I'm going to go in this and get my Olympia qualification. So then if you don't win the Arnold, well, then you still got to do another show to qualify for the Olympia. So now you're pressing that from September to March and then into May, June, July, and then right back in. So you're just have a never-ending season of competitiveness.
Yeah, we got guys like Akim that did the Arnold, and he's still, I don't know, maybe he shut it down now, but
I believe he shut it down. I think he's so high in the points now that I think he's basically guaranteed an Olympia berth. But
April, May, June. Yeah, I mean that's a long time to be in prep.
Yeah.
Okay, next question from him: will you be coming to the UK with Matt? So your UK fans want to know any plans to head over there?
I don't have any plans. I mean, we'll see how Toronto goes, but no, I mean, that's Nathan's rodeo. We'll let him handle that one. I mean, would I like to go over, and maybe support? I mean, if I'm qualified for the Olympia and I have a little downtime, absolutely. I mean, I would definitely consider that. But as of right now, no, that's not planned.
Okay. I would have asked this at the very end of the interview anyway, but future competition plans. If you win Toronto, you're going to shut it down to the Olympia, right?
Yes.
Okay. If, for any unforeseen reason, you don't win the Toronto, would you consider doing anything else until then?
Oh yeah, I'll keep going until I qualify.
Okay.
I mean, if I need to, then the next one, I guess, I probably would do Vancouver next after that. Because Charles is doing Chicago, I believe, and Nathan's doing the UK. So I kind of don't want to step on any toes there. So I think it would be my next best would be Vancouver, maybe Tampa as well. I guess Dexter's doing Tampa from what I've heard. So maybe stay away from that.
Do you really think Dexter's going to do Tampa? I have my doubts.
I don't understand why he would do it. It's not the kind of paychecks he'd be used to, and he doesn't need it. So, I mean, what's the point?
The one theory I've heard that makes a little bit of sense is he has 29 wins. He set the record like 3 or 4 wins ago.
He just wants that in 30.
30, yeah. That's it.
I can understand that, but maybe he will, and then just, already because he's prepping for the Olympia, hop in after that. And they're kind of close in proximity.
Selfishly, I'll be at Tampa, so I'll be psyched if he does it. But okay. Here's one. A guy named Betty Onanos. Have you been increasing calories over the last few years? How do you distribute your macros? Oh boy, he's got a lot of questions. So let's start there. Have you boosted up your calories? Do you eat a lot more now than you used to?
Well, obviously, as you get bigger, you need more food, right? I mean, that's just kind of, how it works, right? More muscle tissue requires more, more nutrients for, recovery, energy, everything like that. Yeah. I mean, from an off-season perspective, absolutely. I mean, during prep, it kind of goes in waves. I mean, like last year after I did Indy and I was already in shape and I kept doing shows, I actually kept my food very high and my cardio very low because once I'm already in shape, it's very easy for me to stay in shape and kind of progress better. So I could keep my food high. But like this last prep, I didn't eat very much. For Toronto, I mean, the calories were low, the cardio was high. I mean, we really pushed things, to make sure that I was, not leaving the door open for anybody, right? So I mean, no, in that aspect, I've done preps in 2016 where I ate more food than I ate on this prep. So that aspect, no. But did I have to eat a lot more food to get the tissue and the maturity to the point where I could diet this hard and not wither away? Yes. So it kind of had one that led into the other. Yeah.
So you a high carb guy or you're a low carb, high fat guy?
No, I'm a high carb guy.
Okay, good. I like that. What are your records in the basic exercises?
Like squat, bench, dead, I'm assuming they mean.
Anything that you're really strong at. That's what I always want to hear.
The most I've flat bench pressed.
Well, you could say dumbbells, anything, because a lot of guys don't.
I mean, I have some videos on Instagram doing 200-pound dumbbells pretty easily. I mean, I've done eight to 10 reps with 200-pound dumbbells.
Okay.
I flat benched 565 for a double, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't know how crazy I've ever gone with deadlifts. I've done over 700, but not many times, like 735, 7 whatever that is, 8 plates. And
it's plenty.
Yeah. Squats, I think, I've done 7 plates for a couple. I've bent over road 5 plates. But
that's about as heavy as it gets, guys. I don't know how much stronger you want them to be than that. Your favorite bodybuilder of the past and present, if you can narrow it down to one.
Favorite bodybuilder, past and present. Oof. Of the past, I mean, this is like a cliche one, especially because, like you, I get, associated with a similar type physique a lot. Would be Dorian, but not Dorian because of his physique. I could care less if you look like Flex Wheeler. It really makes no difference to me. It's the mentality and the work ethic of that is someone that obviously, I strive to even come close to. So I think that would be someone that would be my favorite bodybuilder from the past. Current, that's tough. I mean,
yeah, it is tough, isn't it?
From a physique perspective, I mean, I can't not love someone like a Brandon Curry with just like crazy round, full, nutty muscle, especially the improvements he's made. Or like a guy like Nathan, I really, really like his physique. And then there's guys, that are up and comers that I'm sure you've talked to, like, guys like James Hollingshead that are just workhorses, guys like that, I feel like, have a similar mentality to myself. And I really appreciate guys like that now.
Yeah. James will be there at Toronto. He does remind me in a lot of the aspects of the work ethic and everything to you for some reason. Okay, so that was that question. Based on your current look, how much bigger or heavier do you think you need to be at your ultimate best?
I think at this point I don't really need to necessarily be heavier. I don't think I need to gain 10 pounds of tissue. I think it's a matter of just, slowly improving, the body parts that need to improve to kind of keep things flowing well. And if the weight, goes up a pound, 2 pounds, but I don't think I would look very good at 260 plus on stage. I think I would probably start to ruin my look at that point. I mean, like the best Jay Cutler looks are low 250s, mid 250s.
Ronnie Coleman too, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, most people, get very fabricated weights that they hear about bodybuilders. So, no, I think no more than 5 pounds I need in terms of size, but there's still body parts I need to improve, but you can definitely improve body parts without gaining 10 pounds, so I think that's kind of where I'm at. And, I think I have plenty of tissue. There's not many guys I'm gonna stand next to that are gonna make me look small.
No, not at all.
I can't really think of too many from that kind of, unless they're super tall, massive guys, like the Cedric McMillans of the world that are just really tall, but even that, but
you have so much thickness and density.
So I mean, no, I don't think this. 5 pounds at the utmost would be, I think, as much as I'd need to, and after that, I think I might start to compromise my waistline and my look. So
how tall are you, Iain?
I'm like 5'9" on the button.
Oh wow, okay, so that's 5'9", about 250s. I don't know why anyone would need to be any bigger than that, honestly. No. But, okay, the last question. It was actually these two guys are. Can you hear me?
No, sorry. I was just saying that hasn't really been my goal. Like, it has been in previous off seasons to like really crank the weight up. More now it's been like look better at a certain weight. You know, this last year, it's like, okay, I've been 290 before, but let's be 290 and look really good at 290. You know, let's not try and be 300 pounds. Let's not try and be 310 or 320. Let's just be the best 290 we can possibly be. You know,
I've seen you in the off season a few times, and you always keep pretty decent condition. I never see your face look like a pumpkin or anything. You know.
Oh, I never get you.
No, I was going to say tissue is a Matt Jansen term. He says that all the time.
Yeah.
Other guys just say muscle or mass, but that's how I know I'm talking to someone that knows Matt Jansen. Tissue.
Yeah.
Okay, so they were arguing about your training style because two different people claimed they know how you train, and they had different ideas here. So this guy says he has a certain look to him, which I feel is making a comeback, and I think it comes from the low volume, high frequency, training the muscle more than the classic once per week volume heavyweight. Can you ask him if he feels the low volume heavy style lifting has contributed to his massive transformation since turning pro? Also, as a secondary question, ask if he feels this style is becoming increasingly popular among pros. Then the next guy jumps in and says, I think Iain trains everything pretty much once a week. Maybe if he doesn't take days off, he hits body parts more often. But from what I've seen, he splits it up mostly one body part a day. Who's right?
They're both right.
Okay.
They're both right because I do train lower volume, you know, with more focus on intensity. You know, and I don't like my workouts to be long. I like to, you know, hammer 1 to 2 maximal sets per exercise, get the most out of it, move on to the next exercise. But no, I'm not like a frequency guy. Like I don't do like a push-pull legs and hit everything 2 to 3 times a week. You know, I think if you're hitting everything as hard as I think I'm hitting things, once a week, even at the lower volume, is absolutely plenty. And I've seen it pay dividends in my physique, especially in this prep. So, you know, and in terms of, you know, my recovery has been good. My energy has been much better because my, you know, energy expenditure from insane amounts of volume is not there, right? It's much lower. You know, and in terms of being able to manage, you know, my fullness and the crispness of my physique has been a lot easier too when you're not sinking yourself in training volume. So, you know, but then I've also maintained strength almost the same as an off season right up to the show.
Wow.
Because my volume's been low. I've been focusing on the weight and not killing myself in the volume. So I've been able to maintain, you know, pretty good strength right up to the show, which is ideal, right?
So you're saying like 1 to 2 heavy work sets per exercise typically?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it kind of depends. You know, I kind of go by feel and where we are in terms of food. You know, if I'm really low on food or if the cardio is really cranked, I might bring the volume even a little lower. But yeah, I mean, generally, you know, same kind of thing like, you know, like James would, how he trains really. You know, I'll generally do 2 sets. One will be an absolute max load set, and I'll do a back off set where I'll reduce the weight by 25%, and then do another all out set with that, but the volume will be a little higher, right?
Okay.
And then I obviously incorporate a lot of like rest pause sets, drop sets, stuff like that, like intensifiers to kind of increase the volume without adding more sets, you know?
Yeah. Now, have you developed your training system, the style on your own? Basically, has it sort of evolved over the years based on what you found has worked well for you and what hasn't worked well?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of both. Yeah. So, I mean, it's you know, I've definitely tried a lot of different training styles at this point. I mean, I've done the high volume, low volume, you know, I've done, you know, anything under the sun that I can really think of, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I've trained everything 3 times a week, once every 3 weeks, you know, kind of whatever, you know, you can think of. But yeah, it's just been, you know, things obviously that I picked up from Matt, you know, and learned from Matt, you know, and his training styles, and also just things that, you know, I kind of, you know, dabbled with and found really worked well for me. You know, and like you said, just kind of like a progression and a growth in my own training. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that is all the questions I have for you. Do you have some people or agents, anybody you need to want to thank as we head into this Toronto Pro?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you can see on the sweater here. I don't know if I have a flat head.
Yeah, I can see it.
The company I'm with is AMS Performance. So they're a Canadian-based company. I've been with them for almost 3 years now. You know, and they've obviously, you know, made, you know, things, you know, really easy for me in terms of competing, you know, and allowing me to have a little bit of, you know, freedom in terms of, you know, my life not being completely fixated on social media posts and, you know, focusing on my competitive career, you know, and they've always had my best interest and, you know, kind of kept me, you know, on the right track. So, you know, definitely a big shout out to them.
Training partners, any Jansen, anybody you want to throw in there?
Well, we talked about Jansen now. So.
Oh, yeah, we did, Matt. Hey, Matt, what's up?
Jansen, Chris, everybody knows Chris, so we don't need to talk about him either.
Yeah.
But
Well, your wife, she must help out a little bit.
yeah, I mean, obviously Melissa is like the cornerstone of, everything, right? I mean, from helping me prep my food, or, doing the stuff that when you're tired and you're prepping, you don't want to do, like, just doing your laundry, like shit that just seems monotonous when you're, close to a show. She's obviously, super awesome for her. So, I mean, I'm more than, blessed to have her here, obviously.
Now, she's not in prep mode right now, right?
No. She's going to maybe aim for something maybe late summer, like a Tampa or whatever, that Arizona. I think there's a show around there, Arizona.
Yeah.
Or if not, something post Olympia. But she's kind of just playing that by ear right now.
That was my tricky way of trying to see if maybe she's retiring now that she's married. She's going to be like a housewife or something. Who knows?
She's definitely not retired yet.
No, she's way too young. You guys are all so young. So I'm very excited to see you hit the Toronto stage, because I missed the first. I went to it in 2017 and 18, so I missed the 2016 version. I never got to see you in that show. The only show I've ever seen you at is the Olympia, actually, in person. Yeah, now that I think about it. I've never been at the other shows.
Are you going to Toronto this year?
Of course, yeah.
Well, listen there then.
Ron Hache puts on a very good show. Very well organized, very well run, I got to say. I love the way that everything's right there with the expo and the stage and the hotel all connected. It's so convenient.
It is, yeah. It's
Ron,
a great show.
Great job, Ron. So looking forward to seeing you, Iain. It's you've made some amazing improvements. We follow you. Your Instagram is IFBB Pro Iain. Iain?
Just IFBB Iain. Yeah.
IFBB Iain, but remember, everybody, it's
Two I's.
IAIN.
Yes.
IFBB Iain.
Yes.
Yeah. You'll get it right, people, just like I did eventually. So please follow him. Some good shots on there. And this weekend on musculardevelopment.com, we'll be doing play-by-play, contest photos. Might grab some interviews. So everyone check it out here at musculardevelopment.com this weekend. Iain Valliere, very, very much a favorite to win that show. Fingers crossed for you, guy. I know you've worked hard for this and you really want this. So I'm rooting for you, sir.
Thanks.
Cool. All right, everybody, thanks for watching the Ronline Report. And again, check out Toronto Pro Super Show coverage this weekend to see this man in action. Thanks for watching.